Right, let's have a look. Hopefully you're able to see me and hear me. I've gone live, and hello everyone in the chat. Hello everybody. Let me know if you can hear me. Okay, guys, just can you hear me? Okay. I don't want to start the live stream because I know that I am. I know that I am audible. So, Tifliscus, Lord Anu, can you hear me? Oh, loud and clear. Hello, Hugo. Thank you, Hugo and Steve. Many thanks, Steve071. Thanks, Neptune. Bob Branning. I hoped you might turn up. How are you all, everyone? Welcome to this live stream. It is the it's the 5th of December. Remember. And this is a live stream about the film Bob Lazar, Area 51, and Flying Saucers. Now, I don't know if you've seen the film. I did put links in the notice that notice of upcoming live stream that I actually posted. And that was kind of an invitation to watch the film. You probably get more out of what I'm about to tell you if you watch the film. But I won't post any major spoilers, but some might come up in the discussion. Okay, so just to let you know. But just hello to everyone. Bob Branning, hello, and Anthony Morn, and Lord Arnu. It's good to hear from you again. Linda Brooks, hello. Richard Kinzer, Tiffalicious, Neptune Returns, Hugo Rune, Diego Rivera, hello. Oh my God, I missed you guys. I've really missed you. I really have. Steve071. Oh, it's a lovely reunion, this, isn't it? Yes. And Bob says, what time is Bob coming on? Bob's not. It's just me, I'm afraid. Just to let you know, I've got to apologise for the lack of activity on the channel over the last month or so. It's because I've been writing my book. Well, the good news is the book's finished, and in fact, I've just had the proof back from the printers, and I've just approved it. So the book will go live in a few days, and when it does, I'll let you know. In fact, I might even do a live stream especially about the book when it's actually live. So that's why I've not been doing it on my channel. And you may have noticed if you listen to her Panwo Radio, I've done very little on her Panwo Radio for the last month and a half, apart from the Cry Freedom Show, which is where Lisa Phillips, the host, does most of the work, the hostess of that program. My own broadcasts, I haven't done any because books don't write themselves. There's only one of me. You know how it goes. Hello, Crafty Nihilist. How are you, Liz and Mark? The Crafty Nihilist is a gestalt entity of two people called Liz and Mark. Anyway, Bob Branning, what Bob did you mean? He said he thought I was going to give you an interview at a frog if it stopped hopping for long enough. I thought that Bob was on. He would give you an interview to a frog if it stopped hopping for long enough. Is that Keck? Is it? Is that the frog you mean? Pepe? Keck Willing. Hi, Ben Grizzly. Okay, Dragon juice at the ready. Okay, now I'm just going to right. So the film, did you see it? How many of you have watched it? I saw it. I saw it yesterday. Let me just get me lead off here. Yeah, if I go where is it? My lead off. Right, yeah. I actually did go and see it. I didn't go and see it. I watched it yesterday as soon as it went live on Vimeo. Now this is a film by Jeremy Corbell. It was directed by Jeremy Corbell, produced by George Knapp and Jim Martin. Documentary. It actually went on. It was on iTunes, Vimeo, and many other platforms. And it actually was unlocked for purchase and for viewing. Literally the early hours of yesterday morning of my time. That's UK time. That's literally, it's about in Los Angeles Pacific time in the Western United States. That was like about 10 at night. But I wasn't going to get up in the middle of the night to watch it. I watched it as soon as I got home from work yesterday. And yeah, I really, really wanted to see it. Now, I should point out, actually, before we go any further, the phone might ring during this live stream. I can't take the phone off the hook because basically it's for work. I've got to I've got someone might want to give me a call. Or I might call someone related to work. Okay, so you'll have to just put up with that, I'm afraid, because I need to be able to contact my clients. Now, it premiered, though. It was a very dramatic launch of the film. The premiere was the day before yesterday, the 3rd of December, in the evening Pacific time, and at a very prestigious venue, the theatre at the Ace Hotel, the United Artists Theatre in Los Angeles, USA. Now, this is a very, this is an extremely, what's the word? Extreme, like I said, it's really a high-level place to launch a movie. All the great movies of the history of cinema have been launched there. This cinema dates back to the early days where the silent movies, Charlie Chaplin, who built the actual theatre, he designed and built it. And I'll tell you what, I'd love to have gone. There was actually some tickets still going. If I could afford to get there. But my friend went there, a friend of mine. You may know Gareth Davis, who he's a colleague, a good friend and comrade, and he's the host of the Mindset podcast, which I contribute to regularly. And he's going to do his own report in a couple of days, so listen out for that. And I'd love to have gone with him. He posted some photographs. It looked really, really great. I've got some coffee as well as dragon's urine, okay, to keep me going. Now, I rushed home from work, got home, and I bought it. I actually pre-ordered it, so as soon as I got home, there was an email waiting for me saying it's ready to watch. So I went and watched it, and I hope you guys have watched it. If you haven't, then it's a good idea to go and watch it. I mean, you don't have to stop watching the live stream if you don't want, but you'll probably get more if you're watching the recording. You probably get more if you do watch the film first. If you do watch it now. Documentaries are good. I mean, this is really one of the most anticipated, probably one of the most anticipated documentaries in the UFO field this year, apart from Capel Green, which is coming out next in the next spring. This is probably second most anticipated. Bob Lazar, Area 51, and Flying Saucers. Directed Jeremy Corbell, produced by George Knapp and Jim Martin. It's got an IMDb page, TT9107368. If you want to go and see it, see its IMDb page. Now, it's free quite reasonably, actually. It's quite cheap. It was in US dollars. I think it was 14 US dollars, which is, I don't know what that is in UK pounds, but I think it's less than a tenner. Now, documentaries are interesting because they've always been obviously like a kind of like cheap younger cousin of the main movies, that is fiction, feature films. Although documentaries are often feature length, they're not called feature films. And over the course of cinema, they become more artistic and elaborate. So, for example, early documentaries were basically just like extended news programs. But in recent years, they've become far more elaborate, and they've used a lot of the same devices that fictional movies do, such as special effects, scores, that is musical scores. They become more visually stunning, advanced camera work, good graphics. And you compare those, say, BBC's Horizon TV program, the science show, which is usually not very good, but there's a couple of good ones in it. Compare the modern ones that come out now to the ones that came out like when it started in the 60s. And this is one of those. The actual style of it is very, very sophisticated, I would say, this particular film. And there's a lot of suspense in it too. Now, this is a film about a man called Robert S. Lazar. Now, in the field of conspiratorial ufology, he's incredibly famous. He is enormously famous. His case is probably one of the most famous in all of conspiratorial ufology. And the story, now, if you watch this film thinking it's going to be a sort of rundown of Bob Lazar's entire story, you'll be disappointed. It's not that. I don't think it needs to be, in a way, because that wasn't the intention of the director and the writers, because in a sense, it's aimed at people who already are familiar with the Bob Lazar story, which is almost everyone in the UFO field, let's face it. Bob Lazar, now, just to give you a bit of background, Bob Lazar was a man who, in May of 1989, he approached a local news station in Las Vegas, Nevada, USA, and with an incredible story. The original few interviews he did, he had his face blacked out, and he called himself Dennis. He gave himself a fake name, and he came forward with an incredible story. The story was that he was a scientist who had been working at Area 51. And in those days, Area 51 was much less well known than it is now. And in a sense, the Bob Lazar story is what popularized Area 51. He said he'd been at a secret base, a secret segment of Area 51 away from the main base, where the organization he was working for, he assumed it was the US government, but I mean, as one of the lawyers who dealt with the Robert Frost lawsuit said, the Area 51, you could say it's an enclave of some kind of super government rather than a part of the United States at all. But he was working for this organization. He was actually working for a civilian contractor called EG&G. He previously worked at the Los Alamos National Laboratories, which is a highly high-level laboratory science institution, which is run by several companies and the US government. Everything that goes on there is very secret. You have to have a high security clearance to work there. And Bob Lazar was one of the scientists there. And that's been thrown into doubt by several people. I know Stanton T. Friedman, who's I've got a lot of respect for. Stan Friedman is, I think everyone in conspiratorial ufology respects Friedman. Stan Friedman is the godfather or grandfather of the Roswell research. And I think he's the guy who brought us the Roswell incident, effectively. He doesn't believe Bob Lazar, and he has a number of people around him who agree with him. But I personally think this is one of the few mistakes Stan Friedman has made. Possibly this film will make him change his mind. It turns out that Friedman was wrong. Los Alamos, Lazar did work at Los Alamos, although the contemporary records were deleted. The fact of the matter was that someone came across an old phone book and an old yearbook and some old staff newsletters, which featured Bob Lazar as a member of staff. Now, the reason he went public was he was afraid for his life, because he had apparently been talking to his friends about what he was doing. One of those friends was John Lear, who I'm sure you're all familiar with, a former test pilot, and worked for the CIA. And a number of his other friends, he used to talk about what he did. He even took them out into the desert to watch the flying saucers being flown at the very time when the test flights were always carried out. Because his claim was that the US government had salvaged flying saucers. And these were kept in special hangars, which were invisible from above. They were protected against spy satellites and things like that, and overflying aircraft, because they were made to look just like part of the landscape. It was kind of like a James Bond-like situation, where you have the bad guy lives inside this thing which looks like a volcano or something. They basically look like the side of a hill. So it's a hidden secret base. Not just on a restricted area, but it's secret, so even seen from above, you wouldn't know there was anything there. And his job was to study the workings of these flying saucers. And he only worked on one of them, but he said there were a whole load of them there. There was a whole load of spacecraft there. And when he said spacecraft, he said they were extraterrestrial. They were not themselves back-engineered extraterrestrial craft, or they were not sort of the Nazi Bell or anything like that. They did have an extraterrestrial source. He knows that because he saw that some of the fittings of the craft it was obviously an aircraft designed to carry beings, but these things like the seats where the pilots sit were the wrong shape and size for humans. They were too small and they were the wrong shape. So he said, this is definitely extraterrestrial. And he described how the craft work, and it's really quite incredible, because it's pretty much what many people who study UFOs and have observed their movements suspected, that they have found some way of turning gravity into an energy source and a propulsion system. And I believe that's the case. And not only that, but you see, it's not just aliens. I don't want to run down humans here, okay, because we're as good as the rest of them, I reckon, because humans, people like Nikola Tesla and George Pigott and many other people, for a long time, actually, for over a century, have also been working on anti-gravity and using gravity as a fuel source and a propulsion system. And indeed, they've succeeded. In fact, the Nazis were very advanced by the end of the war. And you know about the Nazi bell, which I've just mentioned. But these were actual extraterrestrial vehicles. They were actual things from other worlds that we'd salvaged, humans had salvaged. Possibly the Roswell craft was there. Possibly the Nottinghamshire craft was there, the one I talked about that crashed in 1987, which was just the year before Bob Lazar started working there. Many other examples of Roswell type events, of course. He said they also had bodies, they had alien bodies there. He was told all about that. Now, when he told his friends what he was doing, he got into serious trouble because he'd signed security oaths and things. He'd taken security oaths. He'd signed every disclaimer and non-disclosure agreement under the sun you can imagine. And he was basically arrested, and he was told by his supervisor at the lab that, you know, he was in serious trouble. They didn't kill him straight away. They let him go, but he was harassed continuously, including people shooting at him. It looks like they were trying to scare him rather than kill him. They shot the tire of his car when he was driving along. Although that could have killed him if he was driving at speed, because he could have lost control and crashed the car. They threatened his wife's life. His wife was in serious trouble. I think she actually ran off with another bloke. It was awful. So he decided to go public, and he did. He went public. Eventually, he came out under his own name and told his story to worldwide fame. And when I say fame, he did become famous. I was going to say fortune, but no, he didn't make any money. I mean, this is one of the things that makes it credible, actually, because he didn't really gain anything from doing this. He didn't earn any money from it. He hasn't written a book. He hasn't really released anything. His behavior was very different if you compare it to, for example, Ray Santilli, the director of the Alien Autopsy film. Sorry, Colin Wolford, it's not real. Colin and I have been arguing about this for years. That guy which went everywhere trying to make as much money as possible, signing as many deals as he could. Bob Lazar didn't do anything like that. Lazar actually is quite a shy guy, if you remember him from his original testimony. And I say, like, if you're not familiar with his work, you have to look at his original testimony first. And that's very easy because there's massive materials online. There's all his interviews with Art Bell. There's all his news appearances. That's all there. There's the documentary that George Knapp did back then in 1989, which you can get on YouTube. Just watch that, because that gives you the background to what's in the film. I'm afraid if my voice sounds funny and I keep coughing, it's because I've got the trailing edge of a cold right now. It's been sort of cold. It's been a bit not very nice. So this is kind of that's the background to what happened in this film. Now, eventually, Lazar went quiet. He went back to his own life. He runs an organization called United Nuclear. It's his a company he runs, a scientific company, and he went back to that. And he disappeared. He disappeared for a long time. He came back into 2014 because it was a 25th anniversary special, which George Knapp did for KLS. That's his company. That's the TV studio, the local TV station, which is where George Knapp works and worked for a long time, and which is what broke the story of Bob Lazar. Now, when that happened, I covered it at the time on A Pan My Voice, if you remember, and there was an interview with him, just a short half-hour interview, and he's gone back to his usual life. He's married again. But the result of that was this film by Jeremy Corbell. And because Bob Lazar is such a shy and secluded man, this documentary is really an exclusive. And it doesn't go into his background, doesn't go into his original story, like I said. It focuses on his personal life, really, since then. That's the narrative of the film. And it's very interesting because there's so much in this documentary, which has never been published before, about Bob Lazar, about what's happened to him since then in these intervening years, and just the kind of guy he is. And there's lots of films. It's a kind of not the fly on the wall, but it's a biopic, I suppose. It shows Bob Lazar at home, at work. He's in his house. He's got some doggies, and he walks the dogs. And he's got his wife there, and he goes to work at this laboratory in his scientific company. And he loves science and engineering. I mean, in every single scene, almost, I think, he's wearing a science themed T-shirt. He's wearing a T-shirt that says something about Einstein or something like that. It's something related to science or engineering. And he's been like that ever since he was a child. And he did build machines when he was a child. He could build engines. And yes, he does have a jet-propelled bicycle. And he actually demonstrates it in the film. And if you get the Vimeo version, there's a lot of outtakes as well. You get some bonus scenes you haven't watched all of yet. But you actually, there's like a 4-minute special where he demonstrates his jet-propelled bicycle. It's really amazing because you can pedal it. It's a normal bicycle you can pedal, but if you start the jet engine, you can go really fast along the road, and you see him jetting along the road. It's really amazing that he could do this. And in fact, when he went to work at Area 51, he had already put together a particle accelerator in his bedroom. Yeah. And I mean, to use the American slang word, he was a geek. And it's not just Bob who's interviewed in this film. There's lots of interviews with his Joy, his wife of 18 years. He's been married to her for a long time, with one of his employees, and his mother, Bob Lazar's mum, is interviewed. And she looks just like him, actually. And as Corbell says in the film, who's also in the film, the better people know Bob, the more likely they are to believe him. And, well, I do believe him. And I know I've sort of vacillated. I've sort of like gone along and entertained Stan Friedman's position and the people like John Alexander and other people. I don't trust John Alexander anyway. He's got some dodgy stuff to do with 9/11. Andrew Johnson's talked about that. But hang on, should I share this? Hang on. I haven't shared the live stream yet. Can I share it? How do I share it? I don't know how this works. The share thing's not there. What's this? Oh, here it is. Hang on. No, it's fine. Not to worry. Oh, one moment. What I'll do is let me just right, I'm just going to just quickly share. I should have done this at the beginning. I'll share it on Facebook. There we are, so people can see it. I can't be bothered to log into Twitter now. I'm not logged into Twitter. I can't be bothered to log in. No, Twitter. Oh, Tina, you're there. Well, Tina got a notification. I'll share on Twitter as well, because I know some of you don't. There we go. And on Google Plus. I'm not on the others. I don't have Discuss or anything like that. I can't be bothered with all these platforms. Should I put it on? I better put it on Stella as well. Because I'm a member of On Stella. That's like a special. It's like a Facebook for freaks. I can't share on there, but I'll put a link. Hang on. Oh, dear, I can't. I don't know how you do this. Because one moment. Oh no, I can't do On Stella. Not to worry. What I'll do is when it's finished, I'll post the recording on Stella. Okay. Tina's all right. Tina's here, I believe. I say, oh, cool. Yeah. Tina, I'll put that in chat box in a minute. Hang on. Okay, so I should have done this at the beginning. Sorry, guys. Let me just get back to the narrative. Hang on. Yeah. I mean, I don't go along. I did entertain the position that Stanton Friedman talked about for a while. John Alexander, several other people. I did entertain that for a while. The general argument was that Bob Lazar lied about his education. And I did entertain that idea for a while, but I think, but even before I saw this film, I think it explained an awful lot what was behind it. Because he's, One of the things is that Bob Lazar has talked about that several items of technology that were originally secret but have since been declassified. Now, this is something that is again, this is exclusive to the film. But if Bob Lazar talked about how when he was at the S4 site, the base, there's an electronic security lock there, which scans a person's hand. You put your hand on it like that, and it scans it. And I know that several places, such as prisons, have them as well. And but this isn't this. It's a different kind. This one actually shines a light in, and it actually examines the bones of the hand. So this is a lot more sophisticated. And everyone's been saying, well, Bob Lazar just made that up. But apparently, this has now been declassified. It is used on the Nellis Air Force range, and so they've admitted it now. It's used in other areas as well as S4. So Lazar was shown a photograph of it, and he says, "Blimey, I didn't think I'd see one of these again." Now, another point I want to make is that Bob Lazar's passed 4 separate polygraph tests, and he wanted to do another one for Corbell for this film. But it was Corbell who decided against it. Bob Lazar showed no reluctance at all, because Corbell talked about it, and Bob Lazar says, "Yeah, I want to do one," and he says, "I'm not going to do one in the end." Now, there's an exact parallel here with the Larry Warren situation, because that's exactly what happened with Larry Warren. So now there's another thing. I mean, see, Bob Lazar apparently has no scientific qualifications. If you go and you look at the various colleges and things like that, there's no record of him. There's no certificates for him or anything like that there. And he says those records were deleted. But seen as he's proved that he works at the Los Alamos National Laboratory. Okay, well, this is not an institution that recruits school leavers. You have to have a scientific, very, very high level scientific academic background to be considered to work there. So he must have gone to university somewhere and got good scores. And we know that he wasn't a cleaner, or he wasn't a cleaner or maintenance man. Now there's a photo going around showing Bob Lazar wearing a boiler suit with a broom sweeping the floors at Los Alamos. And they says, look, he was just the janitor, as they say in America. But he worked there, but he had no education, but he was just a janitor. Well, actually, that picture is photoshopped. It's fake. Okay, just to bear that in mind if you come across that. But Corbell did a lot of research as well, along with George Knapp, and found somebody who knew Bob Lazar when he was a student and used to give him lifts to his classes at the California Institute of Technology, which is one of the most prestigious STEM educational institutions in the world, science, technical, engineering, mathematics institutions in the world. So he was attending classes at the California Institute of Technology. He also he claims to have gone to the Massachusetts Institute of Technology. And Friedman said, "Oh, well, he didn't know anything. No one who went there. None of his classmates remember him, stuff like that." Corbell's has found people who do. So I think maybe Friedman should reconsider his position on this. I know he's retired and everything, and he's a well-earned retirement, but he needs to reconsider. Now, most of you are familiar with Richard D. Hall of Rich Planet. Richard is an electrical engineer, and he actually got into doing what he's doing now because of what he saw with Bob Lazar. And he's done several videos about Bob Lazar, and he says that he can tell by the way Lazar talks, because he's been inside this area himself. This man is scientifically trained, and it's something about the way he talks which indicates he's not just some amateur who's learned it out of books from the library. He has been scientifically trained. He has worked in science, and as you well know, if you study Rich Planet, if you watch Rich Planet, Richard has coined Bob Lazar's name as an adjective for anything he considers bizarre and out of this world. He often switch on and watch Rich Planet, and he goes, I think that's a bit Bob Lazar. It's kind of his catchphrase. It's like my hospital porter's pride and dignity stop the New World Order thing. It's also turned out that there's been a revelation from the US Department of Energy since Bob Lazar's original claim in 1989, that they actually do have a facility called S4 on the Nellis Range. Now, they won't say what it is, but they say there is somewhere called S4. Oh, yeah. But I think the most interesting vindication of Bob Lazar comes from his discussion of what he called element 115. Now, he gave it the name unum pentium, which is a Greek word, as many chemical substances are named after given Greek names. Unum pentium just means the 115th element or 115th metal or something in the periodic table. Now, everyone thought that he just made that up. He describes it as a metallic substance, which is essential part of the drive system for these extraterrestrial craft. But many years later, in 2003, a new element was discovered at a laboratory in Dubna, Russia, which was listed on the periodic table as number 115. Now you might think, well, that was just a blank space on there. They wanted to use it, but they didn't. I'll tell you why. Now this was a substance named moscovium. It's got the elemental symbol MC on the periodic table, named after the Russian capital city. But now the scientists that discovered it in 2003 in Russia describe it as having very different properties than those related by Lazar. Now, Bob Lazar describes a metallic substance, something solid, sort of the same color, I think, steel or something like that. Very similar to steel or to iron or one of these other types of metal. Now, the moscovium is actually highly radioactive and it's very unstable. Now, the longest half-life they can get out of it is from its 190th isotope, and that is 0.8 seconds. Lazar, of course, describes it as metallic used as a source for gravity waves by the extraterrestrial builders of the sports model flying saucer, which is what he called this craft he worked on because it was much sleeker and neater than the others. But apparently it turns out there is work being done, continuing work to stabilize moscovium. And if humans already just less than just 15 years after its discovery are starting to do that, why shouldn't the aliens have cracked it? And it'd be interesting to see if they can, because if they can, that will lend more weight to Lazar's claims. But now Lazar said he told Corbell that he was consulted by these Russian scientists for advice. Oh, can you believe it? Now, after the initial threats to his life in 1989 and those of his family, he hasn't been left alone. He went back to his usual life, probably to try and leave, so the government will leave him alone, but they haven't left him alone. They've continued at a low level to watch him, at a low-key level, but very persistent. They've been persistent. In fact, there's an incident that happens during the production of the film, probably because he was doing the film, and where he gets a lot of government attention. I won't say exactly what it is because I don't want to give you spoilers, but this is what adds to some of the suspense of the story, some of the narrative. So I really do think Bob Lazar is being truthful. I mean, I've actually thought that on and off for a while, but now I'm pretty sure now. I can't see how he's making it up. I don't see how. I don't see why, and I think he's telling the truth. And as Corbell puts it, this is the detractor faction has had too much limelight for a long time. Now Bob Lazar and his supporters are taking it back. So yeah, there's a lot of other issues associated with this. I just want to I've got to make a note of something I want to talk about later. One moment, just going to make a phone call. See if it's just for work. He may not be in. No, they're not in. Okay. Well, let me just now I want to say thanks first of all for the messages you've put on the live stream notice. I know I've missed you guys. You guys have been patient with me because I know you like my output, and a lot of you have been missing the regular videos I do. But I've had my book to write, and as I said, literally just literally just before I went on air, it all sort of came out that it's all, the book was sorted. I got a notice from the printers, a proof, and I've just cleared it, so the book will go live soon. So that's essentially literally just minutes before I came on air. The work in the actual writing and publishing of the book, the job was complete. So it's just a question of waiting for it to go live now. Then I'll post a notice, and the book is basically published, and you can get hold of copies of it. So then I'll have I won't write. I don't know what I'm going to write in terms of books next. So basically, I can dedicate myself more to Panmo TV. Steve O'Donnell, get the dragon's urine out. I've got. Oh, what's this? Hold on a moment. Hello. Hi, Georgina. It's all right. Twice tomorrow. Okay. Bye-bye. Great. Now I can put the phone off the hook. Yeah. I'll take the phone off the hook now. Just got to write something down in my diary. So it's just work, it is. I think I'm not the only one who's got a day job, have I? So Earth Dog says, I thought it was going to be tonight. I always look forward to your video. Sorry, Earth Dog. It's I basically gave plenty of notice for this. I gave more notice than usual for this particular video, this particular live stream, because I know that people may not be checking regularly my channel, because I basically didn't do anything for about a week and a half. So people, and it was more than a week since the one before, the Penturk one. So I knew I had to give a little bit more notice for this live stream than I normally do. Anthony Morn, hi. Talk on the 5th. Yeah, Pain and Death to the New World Order. I'm really glad you're going to cover this, Ben. Can't wait. Thanks, Pain and Death. Did you see the film? Did you like it? Limespecs, hi. And Neptune Returns. Is Bob a lizard? You mean like the Queen? She's a green, scaly lizard, isn't she? Diego Rivera, I'll be there. It's all gone, Bob Lazar, as Richard T. Hall would say. Yeah. Oh, yeah, Steve O'Donnell. Article 13. I know, I'm bloody. That's a. I might do a separate video on Article 13. We'll bring it up another time, because that's bloody awful. That is. I'm uploading as much as I can to BitChute. I'm uploading all my old videos to BitChute as well, because it feels like the ship is sinking. It really does. Cosmic Claire, hi Claire. Bob Lazar looks a bit like Polden Jenkins. He does actually, yeah. Polden Jenkins is a crop circle guy, and he does look a bit like him actually. Right, so let me just go through your comments. So Lord Arnu, thank you very much, and Steve's got the kettle on. Great, I'll go back to the top. Lord Arnu says Litchfield, Minnesota. Is that where you are? Oh, hi, how you doing? Tiffalicious. I'm so excited. I'm glad I'm glad you're excited. Grant Cameron, I think, and Louis Elizondo, Bob Lazar is the man. Ben is watching the BBC News. Oh no, I couldn't. I didn't have any sick bags left. Where am I? Okay, I'll keep going down. Yeah. Now, Bob Branning, which Bob do you mean? I'm not sure I know what you mean. Hi, Crafty Nihilist. Here we go. No, it's a fact, you Burke. Watch your mouth, Bob. Herbal tea and spliff at the ready. Oh, nice one, Hugo. You sound like you're in Glastonbury. Right. Hi, Linda. Is that the mobile, says Bob Branning, you claim on your forum not to have? No, this is my mobile. Okay. It's an old one. I've got a new one, actually. I haven't set up yet. Tiberius Kirk, hello. Tiberius Kirk is the one who posted loads of alien faces. Hi, how you doing? Michael Corrin says, only Jesus Christ, blah, blah, blah. Oh, my God, I've got a doorstep preacher in here. David Schultz says, greetings, Ben. Val and Dave from Island Falls, Maine, USA. Hello, David. Nice to see you again. capelgreen.co.uk. Yeah, I mean, I'll tell you what, in a couple of months, there's going to be an awful lot on this channel about Capel Green. I've already done a video about sort of a bit like that. It's the Larry Warren and Rendlesham Forest one, which Tiberius Kirk is in, along with the eponymous Larry Warren. Bob Lazar, sorry, Bob Browning says Bob Lazar is a proven liar. End of this live stream, really. No, well, that's Bob. That's not an argument, is it? You know, you say, oh, he's a proven liar. I could say anything. I could say 2 + 2 = 5, and every sensible person knows that. Anyone who doesn't believe that 2 + 2 = 5 is an idiot, a fool, and a charlatan. Right? Does that mean that 2 + 2 = 5? Because I've said that. You can assert anything with rhetoric, and it's not a substitute for a rational argument. Okay. Droik. Bob Browning? But I don't think Bob Browning is Droik. His spelling's too good. But I got a feeling he's Beatsart. If he is, then he'll soon expel himself, and I'll ban him. Hey, Armand Adams, great to see you live for a change. Great show last night on KBS. Thanks, bro. Classic, bro. Thanks, Armand. I'm glad you listened. That was me on the Kev Baker show on Truth Frequency Radio last night. Thank you very much. Stephen, hello. Nice to talk to you, mate. Nice to see you. Richard Kisnet, yes, similar technology mentioned by Stan Deo. Stan Deo is very interesting. He's a sort of American, half Australian. And he's written a book called The Cosmic Conspiracy, which I really do recommend. And he knows all about Pine Gap and things like that. And I've actually been to Pine Gap. I've not been in it. Oh, you can't get in it. It's like Area 51. I mean, I couldn't get in it, but I went past it. I drove past it in a coach. I was sitting in the passenger seat. I went past it in a coach, and I looked over and I saw it. So, can't find any links to Bob Lazar being Bob Droid. No, he's not Droid. The Craft Bobsaw was in S4, not Area 51. That's true, Anthony. Yes. S4, I mean, people say Area 51, but technically the actual S4 base is actually a drive. It's like a half-hour drive from Area 51 in a coach, which with the windows blacked out. And that's technically not part of Area 51, although it is in the same general area, and very often it's often called Area 51. It says Bob Lazar worked at Area 51. So Area 51 is kind of like the generic name. In the same way that the Roswell incident is talked about, it's called the Roswell incident, even though it actually happened over 70 miles from Roswell. It's just these names tend to stick. Diego Rivera, hello. No, Diego, before you ask, Bob Lazar did not see the British Bigfoot at S4. Space Raider crisps have an alien on the bag. Zeta reticuli insectoid, pickled onion. Yeah, I remember that actually when I was a kid. I mean, I remember seeing these when I used to eat things like that. Mark Hollingworth, hello. Hunley, hello. Nice to see you again, Hunley. I've not heard from you for a while. I think I met Hunley sort of through Slackser, really. Have I seen Secure Team 10's Bob Lazar interview? No, I haven't, and that's the next thing on my list. I haven't had time to do it today because I've basically been preparing for Hapanwo Radio tomorrow. By the way, Hapanwo Radio is coming back tomorrow. The Hapanwo show is back tomorrow evening at 8 p.m. Just to let you know. But yeah, I've not seen it yet, but that's a really exclusive for Tyler. I'll tell you, getting Bob Lazar in front of the mic, because the guy, as I said, is very, very shy. He doesn't talk to many people. Bob Browning says, look, people, if an alien craft comes to Earth from light years away or another dimension, they're not going to crash or get captured. Why? How do you know that? Unless you know anything about the nature of these craft, you can't say that. You can't assert that. Emma Jones says, not sure about Lazar's authenticity, but very interesting anyway. Oh, well, Emma, if you're not sure, just check the available evidence and see if you change your mind. Because I used not to be sure. But I think based on what I've seen, even before I saw this film, I was pretty convinced, actually. So do check it out and do watch this film as well. But go into the backstory first if you're not familiar with it. Diego Rivera, impossible to know the truth on Bob Lazar. Well, Diego Rivera, if you mean he doesn't have any photographs from S4, he doesn't have any documents. He wasn't. You don't. The whole point of the security system there is you don't get to take these things home with you. It's extremely tight. I mean, there's things at my hospital I couldn't take out with me. I couldn't reveal information that went on there. I couldn't take certain things out of the hospital with me because they were confidential. And the only people who I could share these things with were my colleagues. Bob Lazar's, it's like that, but it's even more extreme. It's far more extreme. Andy Moore says, definitely S4, Bob. Saw some funky shit. He did, yeah. Oh, Bob Rang, Eleno Eugenio Valente, Diego Rivera he's a proven liar. Well, again, that's not evidence. A bit of Colombian flu. No, it's cold. It's cold. Bob. Here comes the yawns. I think if Bob Brown carries on, I'm going to get rid of him. Mel O'Brien, Bob Brown, why wouldn't any UFO crash? Good question. Why wouldn't you? Don't know, Bob, do you? You don't know whether or not they would crash, do you? Diego Rivera, as he would be taken out. I think he was. Well, Diego, I think that he would have been taken out if he hadn't gone public, ironically. Hi, Tina. Tina Silver's there, and Ian Bennett. Hello, Ian. Nice to see you again, Ian. I keep on meaning you often post links to your live streams. I've not joined any yet. I will do that at some point. Bob Browning says she ran off with another bloke after Lazar took a liking to Bob. Lazar didn't meet any actual aliens when he was there. He saw very briefly what he thought might be some kind of medical examination or some kind of extraterrestrial, but he thinks it might have been a model. He wasn't sure. He didn't see it for long enough. Vitamin C. Yeah, I've actually, Diego, I've been eating lots of grapes the last few days because I know they're high in vitamin C. Someone suggested I actually take a supplement, but I'm kind of on the mend now. I'm getting better, but I still got this horrible feeling in my nose and throat, and my voice is not right. Bob is a super troll. All right. Hello, Brian. Thought. Where are we now? Thought about it longer than you've been alive. Answer the question. Nitram Seldok sounds like a Welsh name. Nitram Seldok. Hello, Nitram Seldok. Hi. Can you say Ellis? What, Ellis Taylor? Bob Brown, I don't think he's not. Well, look, are you going to explain why you think he's a liar? Are you going to? Can you find? Let's talk about it logically, for goodness sake. I just wish there was some system where whoever sees these things has to present evidence like you do in court. I really wish that would happen. Go Fast. Where's the movie? Go Fast. There's a link in the show notes of the. In fact, I think I might put a link in the show notes to this. I'm not sure, but there's a link in the description box of the live stream notice. Okay. I don't know if I can actually add. I can't add one here while I'm actually on the air. But I can copy it. Hang on, I'm going to do a copy. All right. Now I can post it on Stella. No, I won't bother. I can't be bothered. Where are we? Okay. Hi, David. Oh, I'm fine, thanks. Yeah, but Go Fast. You can watch the movie. Just follow the link. Just put in Bob Lazar movie. You'll find it. I think Bob is an alien. Well, he does look a bit alien-like, doesn't he? He's got a strange shaped face. Mel says, you made an erroneous station. I question it. Answer the question. You don't have to answer the question. You're an idiot. Well, Mel, are you talking to Bob Browning? Yes. He won't answer the question. He'll just give you rhetoric. Okay. Get rid of that. Where are we? I think Lazar is a lizard. Oh, like the Queen. Bob Browning is Droid. I think he's beats art. I'm going to get rid of him if he keeps doing this. He needs to work on a hoverboard, says Huntley. Well, I covered the hoverboard thing actually a couple of years ago because there was that thing with Christopher Lloyd. Do you remember that? It all came out and everyone thought the hoverboard was real. Hey, Paul, it's Paul from Unite Planet. How you doing, Paul? Nice to see you again. Thanks for joining, Paul. Oh, hang on. Okay, I'm going to have to go up again. Oh, where we go. Sorry, I lost my place again, like often happens. Talk amongst yourselves for a moment. Where are they? Bob Browning, yeah. In 1990, Lazar pled guilty to felony pandering. Well, Bob, right. I'm glad you mentioned that because that does come up in the film. Yes, Lazar does have a criminal record, and it involves some kind of. He was involved in some kind of I think it was something relating to prostitution. And so you might say, well, he's obviously a dishonest guy. Well, maybe he did at the time he was. But the funny thing, when he was in court, he was actually, he must have been, he can't have been seriously involved because he was facing a relatively minor charge. But he could have done jail, but he was trying to get a probation or a suspended sentence. And in order to do this, he had to be completely honest with the judge. And so he filled out, when they asked him about his background, his education, and his employment record, if he'd been lying about his time at Area 51 and about the fact that he had all these qualifications, that was the time when he really, really needed to come clean. That was the time it was really important that he came clean. And you know what? He told the exact same story he told George Knapp in 1989. And he said he's telling it because it's true. So he's really, really scared about being sent to jail, and he did get a suspended sentence in the end, which is now expired. So in a sense, what you've said is correct, but it lends credence to his Area 51 story. So thanks very much, Bob. Well done. Hey there, DJ B2. Hello. David says he lost me for a second. Am I back now? I hope so. Diego, people who break national security are put in prison. Not always, Diego. Very often, a lot of people who break national security oaths actually stay out of jail. There's several ways they could do this. Firstly, if it's something related to espionage, they can agree to become a double agent. And there's several stories of spies in the Cold War who actually did this. It's a very interesting tale. So you can actually avoid prosecution, and you can get immunity from prosecution if you agree to become like a double agent. Or in the case of Bob Lazar, you can make such a loud noise that for them to punish you in any way, legally or extrajudicially, would actually draw attention to what it is they're trying to hide. And I think Mark Pilkington needs to dwell on this as well. Go Fast says Bob was born in 1570. No, I think you mean 19. I think you mean 1958. Yes, he was. He was born in 1958. Guilty in 1916 of pissing on the street. No, it was something a bit more serious than that. David said Area 51 subject is cool. I got notification. Oh, good. Area 956 says Go Fast is the real alien base. Bob did just say that on the news. All right. Area 956. I don't know where that is. Tina, yes. Jim Mars was pro Lazar. He was. The late, great Jim Mars, who is very sadly missed. He's a wonderful man. And Nexus Magazine just published an article by him posthumously, actually. I actually interviewed Marcus Allen the other night for the Herpanwo show, and he mentioned that he'd done an interview with Jim Mars. Go Fast says, I'm a real alien and I'm watching this live stream now. Really? Well, I accept viewers from all areas, including extraterrestrial areas. Mars is sorely missed, Tina. Yep, he is. Tina Silver says, apparently 2 hand bones are unique to each person. That's right. That was the basis. That is the basis of the scanning system that Lazar was using at S4, and it's now been declassified. So if he made it up beforehand, how did he know? How did he know that they already had something secret on the Nellis reservation, which it was secret at the time, and now they've declassified it? Gareth, hello. Gareth says something in Turkish, I think. I can't speak Turkish, Gareth. Can you speak English? Use Google Translate if you can't. Mel O'Brien says, I met a man who was, when I was 8, who had 6 fingers on each hand. Oh, I didn't know you come from Devon, Mel. Who are? Neptune returns. Oh, Bosco Nippy Roman. Bob Brown says, United Nuclear Scientific Supplies LLC. Sounds impressive. Well, it is actually. I mean, they actually film, Bob, they actually film in his laboratory. That's just where he works. He has a very, very impressive looking, very professional looking laboratory where he makes fireworks, and along with lots of other things. And there's a scene where you actually see him making fireworks. And he has like a number of people there. They all wear lab coats and things like that. They have an interview with one of his employees, Bob Branning. He was fined $7,500 and received 3 years probation for violating federal law, which prohibits the sale of materials used to make illegal fireworks. I don't think so. I think it was something to do with prostitution. I don't know. He got involved with something to do with organised crime, which again, yeah, technically he's a criminal. It doesn't mean that just because he's been a naughty boy in some other areas, doesn't mean that he's lying. He's a liar about his position here. I mean, I think all of us at some point have done things in our lives we're not proud of. I mean, none of us are perfect angels. All of us have done bad things sometimes. Unite Planet. My question is, why Bob Lazar had his records deleted, but Edgar Fouché has not? That's a good question, Unite Planet, because Ed Fouché is different, because Ed Fouché's told a very similar story to Lazar, although in Fouché's case, he wasn't dealing with direct source extraterrestrial material. He was dealing with back-engineered copies or secret government projects that actually originated from secret government, possibly from the ones done by the Nazis during World War II. But yeah, Fouché is much less well known than Lazar, but his story is probably equally interesting. Diego Rivera, has Richard D. Hall ever made a UFO? No, I know he was experimenting with some kind of free energy machine at some point, but I don't know what came of that. Richard D. Hall is Bigfoot. Yes, I think he's so hairy these days with his beard that if you saw him in the woods at night with that big brown suit on, I'd think, there goes one of them Bigfoots. Where are we? Diego Rivera, Richard D. Hall is covering up the Geordie Grey. D. Hall hosts his show from a spaceship. Yeah, the Rich Planet Starship. That's actually not a star. It's, believe it or not, that's actually not a real spaceship. It's actually a room. Well, it used to be a room at the top it was an office in a warehouse, and now it's a room in his house. I know because I've actually been there. If you watch regularly, you'll know that I've been on his show twice. And there's like a big green panel behind. He's painted it green, so it's like a green screen on the walls. But that's what you see. You see a spaceship thing around him. It's really good. It's amazing what Richard has done. Actually, if you think about what he does and the effects that he achieves, and compare it to say the ill-fated People's Voice, which was a huge white elephant. Richard had much cheaper equipment, and he balanced his budget a lot more carefully, and he's achieved equally good results. Bob Branning says, Ben, can you explain if Lazar is so smart and qualified, he was busted in 1978 for selling his ass, a prostitute he was? Well, as I said, Bob, I think it was, I don't know if he was actually prostituting himself, but I know he was involved with somebody who was involved with, he was somehow attached to some kind of prostitution ring. And it can't have been anything that bad, because he did get a 3-year suspended sentence. So, I mean, in America, like you can literally go to jail for dropping a sweet wrapper on the street. He got a 3-year suspended sentence, which means it can't have been that serious. But I don't know when that was, and exactly when. It may have been 1978. He'd have been quite young then. He would have been he would only have been probably in his early 20s. He'd have been about 20 in his early 20s then. He was, presumably he wasn't caught, otherwise he probably wouldn't have gone to Los Alamos. But people, like I say, people do stupid things, people do immoral things, all of us. That's the end of my coffee. Oh, just dragon's juice now. All right. Now you mentioned somebody mentioned the Geordie Grey, right? You're talking about the Gateshead Grey. That was a very interesting case, Diego. Yeah. I should bring it up actually. The Gateshead Grey. There's this man called Robert Hall, no relation, who he told a story of something that happened to him when he was a young boy, and he actually encountered a UFO and alien. Right, Tina's just informed me that there is a technical problem with the live stream. It seems to be looping with me saying the same things over and over and repeating every 5 minutes. Tina, I don't know what to do about that, I'm afraid. I don't know if anyone else is getting this same problem. I'll have to scroll down to the bottom. Anyone else getting this problem? Okay, I'm going to go back to where I was. Right, can't we go? There we go, okay. Yeah, the Gateshead grave, fascinating case. Robert Hall's a very, very... I don't know what's happened to him, actually. I mean, he's pretty old when Richard interviewed him, and that was way back in 2008. So I doubt if he's still alive, but he told a really amazing story. You could get it on his... you still get it on Richard's website, actually, on his channel. But there actually was an alien. Yeah, he whacked it with a spade in Neptune Returns, exactly. But it wasn't him, it was actually his Uncle Joe who whacked it with a spade. And they dragged it into a coal yard, this alien, this grey alien. And then the police came and took it away. And it was apparently kept in the basement of a church. And there was a lot of... the military came and took it away. This was in 1940, so this was just after the start of World War II. And the military came and took it away, but it was kept in a basement underneath the church. I've been to see that church. And the basement underneath was like a big smelly pit. But apparently back then there was it had the ability to store things. Anyway, where are we? Right. Mel O'Brien, Colorado Avalanche NHL jersey has Bigfoot on each shoulder. All right, NHL, what's that? Is that ice hockey? Because what you call hockey in America, we call ice hockey in Britain, because to distinguish it from the hockey you play with a ball. But they have a Bigfoot on there. Oh, cool. So Bigfoot is like the grey alien. It's like a cultural icon, isn't it? Diego Rivera, who built Richard D. Hall's alien spaceship? Bob Lazar. Well, it was actually Richard himself who built it. And as I said, it was a room above a warehouse, and now it's a room in his house. It's a room in his home, actually. Yeah, do you remember the Starship? It was really fun because it looks like they're beaming me up. I mean, I was just sitting there and you hear this noise like the Starship Enterprise, and it's like I've been beamed up. Ben, explain why Lazar was a male gay prostitute busted in 1978, which is why his wife left him. Well, he wasn't busted in 1978. He was busted in 1990. And his wife left him before then because of all the aggravation that she was getting from the government, because of the threats she was receiving. And I don't know what maybe Lazar was I don't know if he was a bloody gay prostitute or not. I'm not sure. Like I said, he went to court. He got a suspended sentence for 3 years. He never actually did any jail time for whatever it was he was prosecuted for. Tina Silver, he built it himself. Yeah, that's right, Tina. Yeah, he does show you what the behind the scenes of Rich Planet Starship. I remember. Even Ben has been on it. Yeah, Diego Rivera. He really scrapes the bottom of the barrel, doesn't he? He had me on it. Winslow Burdett. Hello, Winslow. Nice to see you again. Bob Lazar's repeating the question. I'm not avoiding, and I've just answered it. Okay. Tina Silva. I thought he was Welsh. Now, Tina, if you went talking about Richard D. Hall, Richard D. Hall is a Geordie, but he lives in South Wales at the moment because that's where he's moved there with his wife and kid. Funny enough about Bob Lazar, I found out about I think what might be his background, which is interesting, because the name Lazar is actually gypsy, which indicates that obviously he's not a gypsy. You can tell by the way he dresses and the way he lives and things like that. I don't want to get done for being a somethingist now, but he's well dressed. He's smart. He's articulate, and he lives in a house, not a caravan. So, you're being anti-gypsy now. Oh God, blimey! Now I've really triggered some people, haven't I? Yeah. From Draco. Hey, Tiberius Kirk. Hello. Hugo Roon. I cannot believe Bob Lazar. He pushes anti-gravity. I know that gravity does not exist. Oh yeah, right. Hugo, this is I know we discussed this. I even talked to Hugo on the phone once actually about this. It's to do with the electric universe, and it is very interesting. And so if you mean maybe there's an answer within your particular cosmology, which Bob Lazar's thing would work. If not, then I don't know. I mean, that's a question. I don't know really what the answer is to that. Peter Steins, great to have you back. Thanks, Peter. I don't have a book to write now, so well, I will do. I'll start writing another one eventually. But I thought I will do some more videos. Okay. Peter Steins, Ben has the space weather cold. Oh, Peter, you listened to the Kev Baker show last night, didn't you? Yeah. Diego Rivera, when will your book be available in Poundland? Well, basically, it may be available now, and it's actually not to have your book sold in Poundland is not actually an insult, because a lot of books go onto the remainder pile, which means they very often are sent to wholesalers and they're sent to retailers, and if they can't sell them, if the bookshops can't sell them, they very often put them on what they call the remainder list, which is where they're sold off at extra cheap prices, and very often they go to discount stores. So I often find very cheap books in Poundland and other places like that, and where they're worth, that you can buy them for £1 or a penny or a few pence and things like that. So you may well see my books in Poundland. That doesn't mean there's anything wrong with my book. You see a lot of books from very, very great authors in Poundland. It simply means the bookseller wasn't able to sell them and needed to clear their shelf. It's simply part of the bookselling trade. Bob Branning, yes, Bob Branning's just repeated himself again. Neptune says, yeah, Evans Land was £560 on Amazon. I know. Neptune returns. Evans Land's now out of print, so it's quite rare. But I honestly didn't. That's not my doing. That's the wholesaler's choice. I actually sold Evans Land to the Welsh Books Council. I sold 150 copies, and it's probably one of those. And it's been there now for about 15 years. So, but there are some cheaper ones. There are a couple of cheaper ones floating around. You should buy. So that's it. Tina Silver, he owned a knocking shop. Is that right, Tina? Well, I don't think he owned it because Tina, because I think he'd have got a more serious sentence if he was like the ringleader, if he was like the godfather or whatever he was involved in. I think he'd have got a more serious sentence. I think that Bob Lazar was obviously less closely involved, if you know what I mean. Space weather calm, yeah. Bob, stop repeating yourself. Yeah. Neptune, Bob Branning, you are obsessed with gays. Yes, Bob, and maybe there's a reason for that, Bob, which you haven't told us. If you have, feel free to come out of your closet in the chat. I don't mind. I have no interest in your private life. I don't care what you do with whom, as long as it's a consenting adult. So, be open about yourself. That's absolutely fine with me. Videos from the underground. Hello. Right. Oh, here we are. Steve 071 says, are you planning a Christmas New Year live stream? I am indeed, Steve. I'm actually going to plan. There's several live streams coming up. I'm going to, as well as other videos. I'm doing another UFO disclosure video. I'm doing a couple more live streams. I'll probably do a special live stream to do with my new book. Hopefully within a week or so. And I'm also doing I'll do a Christmas New Year live stream. Also, I'm going to do a live stream to do with Brexit at some point when we know more about what's going on and when the right time is, because the whole Brexit thing is really coming to a head now, and it's Byzantine, and it's in its complexity, and it's so full of lies and so full of sabotage that I want to say an awful lot about it. So I'm going to focus very much on Brexit as we approach Brexit Day, or not Brexit Day, it's more likely to be right now. Bob Lazar says, Tina says, Bob Lazar was mentioned in the Daily Mail. Oh, was he? Oh, good. Well, that's because of the movie, I expect, Tina. That's good. The film he sees, he's promoting this, which is good. I really hope that Stanton Friedman sees it and maybe rethinks what he's been saying, because he's such a good guy, Stanton Friedman. I mean, I probably wouldn't be an hour for him. I think it'd be nice to see him reconsider his position. It really would. Hello, videos from the underground. Hi. Mel O'Brien says, I was wearing my Minnesota Wild jersey the other day, and this guy said, Minnesota? That's in California, right? Now, I'm not American. I've never been to North America, but I know where Minnesota is as opposed to where California. Diego Rivera, will there be a Bob Lazar crop circle? Well, you could ask Matthew Williams. Matthew Williams, if you're listening, could you give us a Bob Lazar crop circle next year? Mellow Bright says you got a Bob Lazar cycling helmet. Oh, right. Does it have like a sport model on the top, with lights going around there? Tina, we'll have to wait till spring to find out. That's right. We're in no crop circles at the moment. 2 + 2 = 5. That is the new math, says Videos from the Underground. It is if you read George Orwell's 1984. Yeah. Bob Rang says, Ben, you say anything like blah blah blah. Yeah, it's more rhetoric. You're not giving any. Bob Branning, you've only raised one single point on this entire live stream, and I've answered you. So do you have a counter argument to that? Tina Silver says Horizon started in the 1970s when David Attenborough was the first controller of BBC Two. Is that right? Oh, I see. Yeah. It was his 90s. I thought it was the 60s, but it was the 70s. And David Attenborough was behind. Well, David Attenborough, yeah. Was he controller of BBC Two? Well, you know what, Tina? David Attenborough is a one-worlder. Do you know that? He's a globalist. He believes in depopulation and things like that. Yeah. Savia Smith, hello. Hello, Savia. Any thoughts on why Richard D. Hall doesn't do shows in London very much? Last year's in Kingston was good, but no shows next year in London. I don't know. Richard did do a show. I went to his show in Kingston, actually. I should you come over and say hello next time if I see you. But I don't know. I mean, he's doing tours. He does his tour every year or so. I think twice a year now he does a tour. But there could be many reasons. I mean, the thing is, doing shows in London is very expensive because hiring anything in London is incredibly expensive. But I've looked at the venues here, and there's going to be one near where you live, where you are. There will be one where you are, close to where you are. Steve 071, the tinfoil hat's still there, Ben. Yeah. Where's your alien friend gone? Oh, the alien's just over there. I can't show you now. I don't want to turn the camera thing around because I have trouble getting it back in the right place. But my alien friend is there. Yeah. Tina Silver says, I've written to RDH to ask if you can do one more centrally in the Oxford area. Yeah, I mean, well done, Tina. Let me know if you get a reply from him. I mean, he doesn't always answer emails, but if he's interested, he'll get back in touch with you. I think your idea is good to have one in this kind of area, definitely. By the way, it's going to be a Dreaming Saucers next year, probably later in the year, though, probably sort of in autumn time, because of Capel Green in the spring. I'm going to be too busy with that. Mel O'Brien. Lazar is one of these weird dudes who populate the loopy US UFO scene. At least he's not selling blue chicken feathers. The UK UFO scene is a lot more rational than the California New Age crazies. Well, Mel, again, there's a lot of rhetoric there. That's a bit like what Bob Branning was saying. It's not like but I mean, I know there is a loopy side to the UFO scene, I know, and there are some UFO religions and things like that. And of course, in California, you had the tragic case of the Heaven's Gate situation. So I know what you mean. And we don't have anything similar to Heaven's Gate in Britain. We do have the Aetherius Society, which is an essentially religious and is like a UFO religion, but it's far less intense than Heaven's Gate. And the Aetherius Societies. No one in the Aetherius Society is going to kill themselves, I don't think. I mean, I know a couple of guys who are involved in it, and they're perfectly level-headed. They're not going to kill themselves. John Nolan, hi, Ben. Any new crash cases to report? Well, only the Penturk one. If you mean one since then, no, John. But the Penturk UFO is quite a new one, and I've done a video about it. And I'm not the guy. I'm not the person who researched it or anything like that. I was just reporting on it. It's Gary Jones and Kaz Clark. Really, you've got to thank for that. But yeah, there is that. I believe that was a crash retrieval. I think it was a CE 2 plus crash retrieval, as I said. Videos from the underground. Bob Lazar is genuine. He is, yeah. Mel O'Brien. I heard RDH say that logistics of getting a venue in London are complicated. Parking size and other factors. Yeah. Kingston's not officially is not officially part of London, but it's in London. And Richard did do a show. He did a great show there, actually. It was really good. But yeah, it's a tricky thing. It was. I mean, Xavier Smith says it was very successful, and it was. And there's one in Kent this year. I know it's a bit further away, unfortunately, but Xavier, it's still worth going to. And I mean, I think it was all sold out last year. I remember. This year just gone. Tina Silver, John Lear's birthday today, is it? He did a live chat with Project Camelot about Bob Lazar. Oh, right, did he? Oh, good. I mean, I know I think they've fallen out now, John Lear and Bob Lazar, but I mean, he stands by what he said, and I'd love to see that. And happy birthday, John Lear, if you're watching. Oh, there's 43 people watching at the moment, so maybe John's one of them. Mel O'Brien, September 28th, there was a UFO landed 50 yards from this farmhouse. I watched it for a while and went back to bed. During the day, a black helicopter flew about 50 feet from the ground. 5 people saw it. Where was this, Mel? Was this in Minnesota? Are you talking about yourself personally? Video that looks like a trumpet. Do you mean my little tinfoil hat there? Yeah, that was kind of like that was a bit of fun and frolics at the end of Dreaming Sources. We needed to let our hair down, David Schultz says, I was wondering if UFOs have crashed on Earth. Why hasn't anyone mentioned that they have homing devices or distress signals in case of a crash? I don't know, you see. I mean, it's easy to anthropomorphize these aliens. And I mean, this is a big question a lot of people ask. Why do they fly all the way from Zeta Reticuli, land in the middle of a field, make some strange shapes in the crop, and then insert an anal probe into a couple of people's, into a couple of wide-eyed yokels, and then bugger off without saying hello? Because you can say, well, why would they do that? And what you mean when you say that is, if I visited another planet, I wouldn't do that. But that's because we're human. They're alien. It's possible that we may not be able to understand them. It's possible that we don't understand. Not only we may not be able to. Have you ever seen the film Arrival? That is an excellent film. That's probably the best alien invasion film ever made. Alien invasions, there's loads of alien invasion films. They vary a lot in technical quality and intellectual content. This is one of the best. But it's about aliens that land on Earth, and then they speak, their language has to be decoded. And it's absolutely brilliant. It's absolutely brilliant. It's called Arrival. Bob Browning, if you require me to present evidence he's alive, then I will. Yeah, please do. Can you present evidence he's not, though? It's all mysterious. No. The evidence is there. It's in the stuff that's already published about Bob Lazar, including this new recent film. Bob Browning, I'm not being smart. Well, you would say that, wouldn't you? Mel O'Brien, perhaps the UFOs have crashed deliberately. Well. Funny you should say that, Mel, because in David Percy and Mary Bennett's Dark Moon, they actually suggest that this is actually some kind of test. I think they wanted to see if they could believe this stuff on the Earth, and the authorities would actually let the people know about it, or whether they would actually cover it up. And interestingly, one of the nearby towns close to where the Roswell crash site was is called Truth or Consequences. And maybe that's a little bit of a elbow in the ribs there. Oh, where are we? Okay. Cat houses are legal in Nevada. Videos from the underground. Do you mean brothels? Yeah, I mean, it could be. This is what I mean. It could be. It was one that didn't have the right license or something. Because obviously, like if you run a brothel in England, I mean, I actually know that. Believe it or not, I know there's a couple of brothels in where I live. Although they're not there anymore, but they used to be. And don't ask me any more questions, okay? I didn't frequent them, if that's what you're going to ask, but I knew they were there. I knew some of the other porters used to visit them. Okay, it was a thing among the porters for a while. I didn't personally go along, but the woman who ran it ended up in jail. Now in Nevada, I know they're very liberal. They have you have licensed brothels. Prostitution is legal, but you have to still have a license. What I'm guessing is that there was some licensing problem. It wasn't anything as serious as running an actual brothel in a place where it's actually illegal for prostitution. Otherwise, you'd have gone to jail for years. Diego Rivera, are aliens the biggest secret? one of the biggest. There's several others that are also pretty big, but aliens are up there, certainly in the top 5. Mel O'Brien, I think these alien entities are engaged in confusing us as to the truth about what's going on here on Earth. Quite possibly, Mel. You see, Dr. Carla Turner actually suggested this when she was interviewing. She used to interview abductees, and yeah, there was some. You see, they are consummate tricksters. These aliens, they lie. For example, there were many people in the 1950s who were very credible cases of contact cases from aliens who claimed they came from Venus. Now, in the 1950s, people didn't know anything about the planet Venus. Since then, we've sent probes there, and we found out that it is one of the most inhospitable places in the universe. And there's no way that any sophisticated life could ever develop there, if any life at all. So they lied about coming from Venus, obviously. So why do they lie? And there's evidence they're still doing that now. So they're not always honest, these aliens, with the people they abduct and they have contact with. So yeah, maybe for whatever reason they are confusing us. They are saying things that aren't true. And I don't know why. Carla Turner died, unfortunately, in what I think are mysterious circumstances. According to John, everyone is being abducted. So Tina, yeah. Well, Tina, I mean, I know I've spoken to you about this privately, but I've got an implant in my arm. I've still got the mark there, and it's still there as far as I know. But I have no memory of any experience that would lead me to believe that was put in there. So how did it get there? Have I had experiences that I've now forgotten, or the memory's been removed from my mind? Jose Varela, greetings, Earth from Mars. Oh, I've got someone from Mars. That's nice to know. Hello, Jose. Tina Silver, Einstein a Go-Go. That's a song, wasn't it? Mel O'Brien. If you're abducted, you don't come back. Most people dream or are hypnotized to believe they've been abducted. Hopkins and Max, decent dudes, but led the path of hypnosis, black magic. I don't think so. I think there is such a thing as real abductions. Now, based on what they researched, I think there is an objective reality to this. I mean, John Mack went into it in a sense of he was trying to disprove Bud Hopkins in a way and other researchers. And he had to conclude in the end that he couldn't disprove them. And John Mack, of course, developed his own theories. I've got his book over here, actually. There's cases that Bud Hopkins documented where there were independent witnesses to abductions, the Linda Napolitano case, for example. Right, Tina's having some problems. No one else is reporting them. She's experiencing technical problems with this live stream. It may be just something at your end, Tina. I'm not sure. But if a lot of people are getting this problem, then obviously, and I don't know what to do about it, unfortunately. Diego Rivera, are aliens transgender? I don't know. They do seem to be strangely asexual in many cases. Not all of them. There are some aliens that appear to be, in the sense that you can see their skin, but they have no genitalia. Others appear to be either male or female. It depends which aliens you mean. I mean, there are hundreds of different species. There's virtually a taxonomy now of aliens of various kinds, various species, various families. The Nordics, the Greys, the Mantids, etc. Diego Vera, is this why the Illuminati are promoting it? Promoting what? Oh, transgenderism. I don't think so, no. I think there's another thing behind transgender. Oh, I've got to go back again. Hang on. Where was I? Up we go. Got to go back to where I was. Oh, yeah. There's another reason. The transgender thing has more to do with mind control, cultural Marxism, things like that. I've talked about that in my BBC lecture, if you see that. Videos from Underground. Transgender is to create another victim class for politics. Yes, partly, yes. It's also to sow elements of confusion within our group collective psychology. It's a very sinister thing. It's very interesting. It's interesting, but it's worrying. It's essentially using mentally ill people as political weapons, which I think is extremely cruel. Neptune Jones. Rebecca Storm was interviewed on the radio. She's totally asleep. I don't know her. When are you going to Tiberius Kirk? When are you going to light the giant Roman candle behind you? Well, Tiberius, you remember when I had it on my head? And I thought, I don't know, luckily there was no thunderstorms at the time because I thought it might act as a lightning rod. But I'm not going to do that again, incidentally, on the next. There will be some frolics and fun on the next Dreaming Saucers, but it'll be of a different kind. Mel O'Brien, transgender is a Tavistock Institute experiment. Yes, correct. 114 transgender on Ireland are under the control of the Tavistock agents. By the way, I identify as a dog. Woof, woof. You're not a dog, Mel. Sorry. Oh, I'm being doggist now, aren't I? Trans-doggist. Prostitution is legal in certain areas of Nevada. Yes. It's possible there was some kind of licensing issue, which is how Bob Lazar got into trouble. Trans is a mental illness. Yeah, I've got to say that. I mean, I think it is, and it's sad when people have this experience. But there is something. I think it is. There is something. I know not everyone will agree with me on this, but I think there's something sinister about the way it's being used. I mean, I don't want to generalize it because I mean, it may not apply to every single trans person. Because I know some trans people, and I don't want to sound like I'm against them because I'm not. Mel O'Brien, felony pandering likely means he supplied or tried to supply a prostitute to somebody. Yeah, it may have been something like that. But I know he received a 3-year suspended sentence and a fine, so it can't have been anything major. And again, it's in a sense the way that he conducted himself during the trial supports his alien story, I think, and his Area 51 story. There we go. The only thing loopy is the US UFO crowd, says Mel. I know several people in the US field, and I know there are some loopy people there. There are people, some I respect, some are more down to earth. I know there's some good organisations, there's MUFON, and there's several other good things like that. David Vincent, you should get on Richard Dolan's show. It would be really good. Well, if Richard wants me, I'd be glad if Richard wants me on the show. That'd be cool. I'd be glad to go on. He hasn't invited me. He's got I don't know what he thinks of my book. He's got a copy of my first book. Colin Wolford actually presented one to him because I couldn't go there. So I don't know what he thinks of it. I know. I don't know. It's a bit contentious, the contents of my first. That is not my first. The first Roswell book, the Roswell Rising, because I know Steve Bassett. I think he disapproves of it somewhat. Glinbo 68. I've just joined. Are you saying Bob Lazar was a male prostitute? Hi, Glinbo. Glinbo, that's what Bob Branning was saying. I think he's. I don't know, quite frankly, is the answer. But and I don't think it matters. I mean, what matters is that he did go to court. He was prosecuted, and he was convicted, but he received a light sentence. So it can't have been anything that serious what he did. And I don't expect him to be perfect. None of us are perfect. A lot of people have criminal records. A lot of people have gone into trouble. Someone has posted something in French here. I don't know what that means. Sorry. Bob Branning. His impressive sounding nuclear this and that. The other company sells ingredients for fireworks. Impressive me being sarcastic. Well, the thing is, these things, Bob, these things are essentially, it's very similar to weapons. These things are very similar to weapons. Fireworks are essentially very similar to missiles and cannon shells and things like that. They use a lot of the same ingredients, and they have to be put together in the laboratory under strict safety conditions, using a lot of the same methods. There's nothing disreputable about making fireworks, and he doesn't just make fireworks either. His company does other things as well. Oh, here we go. Bob Branning, he was ousted for being a prostitute, a pimp, selling illegal firework ingredients. Well, Bob, if you're going to say things like that, right? He could, if you're wrong, he could sue you, and I'll be 100% behind him. That you, oh my God, your anti-traveler mindset has been noted. Oh my God, I've done it now, haven't I? I'm just saying that his name is a gypsy name. Okay, I'm not saying, but and he doesn't look. I'm just saying he doesn't look or appear or come across as a gypsy, and he's probably just got gypsy roots, which may mean that he has. Think about gypsies. I mean, I'm not anti-gypsy. See, the thing about it is there's a famous person who's like a contact abduction case, a family case here in Britain, for Anne and Jason Andrews. And they are from a gypsy family. I mean, they don't live a traditional lifestyle, but they're from a gypsy family. And gypsies are very ancient, mystical people, and they are often in touch. I mean, like Anne Andrews' father was a horse whisperer. So gypsies are often, they go back a long way, especially those in Ireland, go back a long way into the past and maybe descended from the original pre-Illuminati cultures here. So I hope that is enough to appease the SJWs. Yeah, I'm just getting tired of this. You can't open your bloody mouth now. You really can't. Hugo Rune, not electric universe. I cannot yet prove. All right, okay, not electric universe. I cannot yet prove that gravity does not exist, but I can prove that it does not do what they say it does on the tin. All right, and Hugo, no worries. I mean, I know you have a particular cosmological ideas, and maybe they don't fit in with Bob Lazar. And if you're right, then obviously Bob Lazar is wrong somewhere. But it's still possible. It doesn't mean his experience wasn't real. Bill O'Brien, felony pattern includes pimping. They aren't usually charged with the offence. Pimps are. Well, Bob Branning, and why don't you look up the court papers online? I mean, Corbell mentions it in the film, and I'm presumably he mentions this is the case. He includes footage from Bob Lazar in court. So it's not a secret. You can go and look up what it was that Bob Lazar actually did and what he was prosecuted for, what his trial was all about, rather than going to and fro on the... I mean, I don't have time to do that now, but I mean, you see, because Bob Branning's making lots of claims which can't possibly be completely true, because otherwise Lazar would have gone to jail. Bob Branning says here, it's not looping, it's cheap cider rotting his brain. I'm not drinking cider, it's dragon's urine. I've got to fill it up, actually. I don't drink alcohol very often to excess, as Napoleon the pig said in Allenby Farm. Especially not when I'm broadcasting. Oh, by the way, for anyone who's interested, watch this, The Experimenter. That's a bloody good film. For the people who were talking about the Tavistock Institute and stuff, all right, that is a damn good film, The Experimenter, with Peter Sarsgaard and Winona Ryder. Because if you're interested in mind control and the Tavistock Institute and psychology and stuff like that, and how it's used as a weapon, you'll love that. All right. Poundland is dollar store. Yeah. Videos from the underground. It's like everything's £1 in Poundland. That's the all is true. Right, I've got a message from someone called Bunghole Burglar stealing your shit, which I'm going to delete. Videos from Washington. Hello. Videos from the underground. Is that Washington DC or Washington in Scotland or Washington State, where Seattle is? Diego Rivera, will you do a Christmas sing-song? Yes, I will. Once I'm drunk enough on my Christmas special for Panwo Radio, I will sing, I promise you. Video, so please, Brexit, we're counting on you. I'm going to cover the Brexit thing in a future live stream, actually, and probably maybe other videos too, because, yeah, fake exit. Yes, it is fake exit. There you go. I'll be saying more about that. It just seems there's no way out now, because it's deal or no deal. If the deal goes through, then
it's Brexit in name only, and we're still controlled by Europe. If it doesn't, then it goes back to the drawing board, probably to a second referendum, which will probably involve cancelling Article 50. And I'll cover that in more detail when the time comes. But basically, UKIP are now just tearing themselves up with infighting, and Nigel Farage has quit. And so there's no real opposition to whatever the government want to do now. It's really awful. Really sorry to hear that's your former president. No. Oh, right. Washington is like England, but with a funny accent. All right. Neptune returns. Theresa May is a Remainer, and so is doing everything to mess it up. Well, exactly. And she's basically like, she's sitting there saying, I'm trying to make this work. I'm trying to make this work, while she's throwing spanner after spanner into the engine room. Oh, I knew this would happen. I mean, you watch the videos I made about it in 2016. Bunghole burglar stealing your shit says, I need to clean my room. There's a lot of stuff in my closet. Oh, right. You've been watching Dr. Jordan Peterson, haven't you? John Daniel, a vote to remain is a vote to surrender British sovereignty. Exactly. Well, the actual EU, since it was created in various stages, has been a surrendering of British sovereignty. David Vincent, have you ever been to Roswell, Ben? No. And I would love to go there. And that's maybe something that's on my bucket list to go to. I really do. There's actually the Roswell Festival every year, so I will hopefully go there maybe 1 July. Don't know if it's going to be next July. When I can, I will go. And if Colin Wolford's going, I might go with him, because I'd love to go. Seeing as I've got a passport now. Could Santa be mistaken for a UFO? Diego Rivera says. Well, if you didn't recognize it as Santa, then yes. And Santa equals Satan, says Neptune returns. Yeah. Bob Browning. Ben, you're homophobic. You just proved that here. Oh, shut up. Oh, dearie me. Oh, no, I'm homophobic. I probably break some, ideological purity code, and every single time I even open my mouth for 2 hours. Crafty Nihilist. Richard isn't doing Western Supermare this year. Yeah, that's strange. He normally always does a Western, doesn't he? At the big hotel. I went to see him in Western with some friends. I actually went to see Richard D. Hall 4 times this year. I'm sure Richard's got me down as some kind of MI5 agent who's following him around spying on him. But the reason I went was because people kept inviting me to go with them and asking me to go with them. So I did as a kind of social event. So I saw Richard's show 4 times. So yeah, I mean, it's just disappointing he's not going to Western. I mean, I'm not sure which one I'm going to go to yet. I mean, we'll see. Susan Hayward Tonkin, hello. Hello, Susan. Thanks for joining. Susan, all the way from Australia. What time is it where you are? Oh dear. Thank you so much for being on the show. I'm really enjoying your Roswell Rising. Can't put it down. Well, thank you, Susan. Mwah. Thank you. When you finished it, Roswell Redeemed is the next one. And you're lucky, because I'm pleased to tell you that within a couple of days, Roswell Redeemed, the final part of the trilogy, will be available. So you'll be able to read them all in one go. Bob Browning is coming out of the closet, isn't it? Yeah. Mel O'Brien, West Cork Island, lots of UFOs seen lately. Yes, I believe you had a very interesting case involving a couple of aircraft, which is sort of, it was during my hiatus while I was writing the book, but I did make a note of it. Neptune's Clonakitty, is that somewhere in Ireland? Arrival is on Netflix, Tina. That's right. I've got it on Amazon Prime. Very, very good film. Videos from the Underground. Contact was one of my favourite movies. Yes, that was excellent with Jodie Foster. Yeah, that's about discovering a signal from space. Did you see my SETI and UFOs video? Watch that, because I talk about that particular film in there. And The Day the Earth Stood Still, yes, the original one, not the remake with Keanu Reeves, that was crap, but the original one with Michael Rennie, that was excellent. Bell O'Brien, they don't think in terms of good or bad, more likely useful or not useful. Yeah, the aliens. Well, look, I mean, you see, they seem to exhibit an awful lot of different kinds of behavior. They seem to have a lot of different motivations. They seem to have a lot of different agendas. There's different species which exhibit different behavior. Sometimes the same species exhibit different kinds of behavior. Yeah. Life hacks, hello. Stephen Sanks Haku. Hello, Stephen Sanks Haku. That's an unusual name. I can't say for sure whether it was aliens or not, but I have at night time seen a weird craft sitting in place, just blinking its lights, and I zoomed my camera in on it. It was shaped like a hexagon. All right, Stephen. Well, get some video of it if you can, or if you can get closer, that'd be great. Oh, I've got to go back again. Where are we? Perhaps no star blinks. Looks like an accident. Where are we? Tina. Perhaps the planet we call Venus is not the same one they call Venus. Yeah, that's a possible answer, Tina. Yeah. It could be simply like a translation error or something like that. It could be something like that. Yeah. Where are we? Meme Warrior. Hello. Keep up the good stream. Gonna go. Oh, thanks, Meme. Thanks for dropping in, Meme Warrior, and thanks for watching. There's still 46 people watching at the moment. So there are some real abductions, says Mal O'Brien, but not on the scale it's made out to be. Aleister Crowley said that hypnosis is a form of black magic to surrender one's free will to another. Yeah, someone suggested I have hypnotic regression the other day, and I'm dubious about it. I mean, I'm not 100% against it, but I'm worried about having it. It's like someone suggests I take ayahuasca, and I feel the same way about that. Diego Rivera, why are these aliens so fascinated with anal boring, especially cows? A good. You're talking about the mutilation phenomenon. Very pertinent question. Nobody knows. There's several people who claim to know, such as what's his name, Gabe Valdez, and people like that claim to know, and their explanation makes no sense to me. Incidentally, I mean, I want to bring up Mark Pilkington, because I actually went to a screening of his film Farage in London, and I brought up the subject with Bob Lazar in the Q&A, and he refused to talk about it. He just said, "I don't talk about Bob Lazar in my film, therefore I'm not going to discuss it with you now." And I approached him afterwards, and I said, "Look, Mark, I know he's not in your film, but the Bob Lazar case is still relevant to your thesis. That is essentially that the UFO phenomenon itself is some kind of neo-mythology. It's something almost created by the government itself in order to launder something else, perhaps more terrestrial aviation projects and things like that. In which case, where does Bob Lazar fit into this? I mean, according to Pilkington's thesis, Lazar must be some kind of disinformation agent put out there to distract people's attention away from Area 51. So people will not be looking at Area 51 for all the new spy planes. They'll be looking at Area 51 trying to find the aliens and the flying saucers and things. So therefore, but that doesn't make sense. If you draw something, it's a very, very risky gambit. Drawing someone's attention towards something with the ultimate objective of deflecting it away doesn't make sense, because you think how that could backfire. In the case of Bob Lazar, it has backfired, because people are looking at Area 51 now for the new spy planes and things, along with the aliens. In fact, there's a whole Area 51 observer culture centered around the Dreamland Resort website, and the German guy who runs it, he lives in Rachel, Nevada. And he says quite clearly, this is not a UFO website. There are no UFOs at Area 51. But his website receives a massive number of hits, and there's a lot of attention. He holds conferences, he holds outings to the defense line and things like that. Along group, and he's very anti-UFO. But if you think about it, if it wasn't for Bob Lazar, he wouldn't have got into it himself. So it just doesn't make sense. This whole idea, it's quite a fashionable idea now that Mark Pilkington puts forward. Just doesn't make sense. I know a lot of people who go along with it. Brian Allen, for example, is pretty much sold on it, but I think it doesn't make sense. I don't know why the aliens are fascinating with boring out anuses, to be honest. I really don't. I just think this is one of the more malevolent sides of the UFO phenomenon that people don't want to face, especially seeing as, along with all species of animals are affected, and I mean all species. Their human bodies have turned up with these injuries, they're dead humans. And again, several people have talked about this. Tony Dodd Richard D. Hall did a very, very good documentary on this recently, which it's very interesting because Richard actually tracked down this chap who's he's actually an old friend of Tony Dodd's. He's never released his name to the public, but he claims to have been involved in government projects relating to this. And it's a very interesting story. If you read Tony Dodd's book, you'll find out about that. Mel O'Brien, Tavistock is all over transgender kids in Ireland. Yeah, that's disturbing, very disturbing. I should point out that Cosmic Claire actually is writing a book about this, and I'm looking forward to reading it. Do you like being probed? Mel O'Brien, Daniel Estlin has a good book on Tavistock. I've not read the book, but I know Daniel Estlin, and I'm impressed with his work. Yes. I've not actually read his book on the Tavistock Institute, no. I've read John Coleman's book on the Tavistock Institute, which is really, really good. And as you know, if you're a regular viewer, I have personal experience of being targeted by that particular organisation. Glowtone, hello Glowtone, evening all. I just wondered if David Icke has ever made any comments about Lazar. No, he hasn't. Oh, I'm going to just delete a message here, which is Tina Silva, something dodgy about Richard Dolan. All right. I don't know. I mean, I must say I've met him personally, and he's not the easiest man to get on with on a personal level, I must admit. But I really, really do like his work. His books are excellent. But Tina, maybe I'll talk with you. I'll talk about that with you in private. But yeah, he's not an easy guy to get on with, I must say. So what's nuclear got to do with fireworks, says Bob? Well, Bob, he doesn't just make fireworks. You see him making fireworks in the film. Gypsy short for Egyptian. That's true, Tina. Yeah. God, I'm in trouble now, aren't I? Mel O'Brien. The problem with people like Dolan, Church, Cassidy, Ryan, and many others is their uncritical acceptance, whatever they're told on their shows. If they question things, they would have fewer guests. I haven't watched enough of Richard Dolan probably to know that. I know that there's several interviews that have been done, for example, on Project Camelot. I often think the one they did with that Patrick Gerald guy, I thought to myself, what's he? Come on, surely you've got to call him out on this stuff about the Earth being flipped over by magnetic reactions and things. I sometimes wish Kerry and Bill had actually said, come on, Patrick, you're talking crap here. You really are. Mel O'Brien, speaking of explosives, the Nobel Prize has blood dripping off it. Nobel was hated during his lifetime. The people who actually talk of blood money, talk about blood diamonds. Mel, yeah, I mean, if you think about the people who've actually won the Nobel Prize, Barack Obama, Henry Kissinger won the Nobel Peace Prize. Barack Obama did, just after he dropped, 1,800 missiles on Pakistan. Adolf Hitler was actually shortlisted for the 1935 Nobel Peace Prize. Did you know that? One of Genghis Khan, Attila the Hun. I think it's something very Orwellian about the Nobel Prize. That's right. So, for example, if you've done a lot of work in cancer research, you can win a Nobel Prize. But if you've done a lot of work in cancer research that involves all treatments that are currently off limits, such as powerful anti-cancer drugs relating to cannabis and things like that, and GC-MAF and things like that, then you get called a conspiracy loony and you get locked up in jail like David Noakes. So there's something a bit like Nobel Prize is sort of like part of the cover-up, I think. Seattle gets an NHL team in 2021. Now, ice hockey, I'm not really into ice hockey. It's something we don't really play in Britain. You Americans, you're funny, you Americans, because you're obsessed with these sports that no one else plays. Baseball, American football, oh wow. Diego Rivera, Ben, did you note that the distance of stars is not constant and that 70,000 years ago a star came within 1 light year of the sun? This means that aliens do not have to travel at the speed of light to get here. I didn't know that, Diego, and that's very interesting if that's the case. Lyara, hello Lyara, how are you? I'm just going to PM you actually on I'm just going to PM you on Facebook. I've just approved the proof from printers. Book will go live in a couple of days. There we go. I've just PM'd you on Facebook, actually, Lyara, because yeah, because Lyara is well, we'll say more. I don't know if I won't say on the live stream exactly what Lyara's role is in this, but I wanted to let you know. I was going to tell you anyway. Roslin Chapel is in Roswell, in Roswell, says Tina. Roslin Chapel is near Edinburgh. You don't mean Roswell, do you? It's nowhere near Roswell. It's in Edinburgh, somewhere near Edinburgh. It's the town of Roslin. Mel O'Brien. Diego Rivera, the speed of light has never been calculated. It's a con. Light changes constantly. The Michelson and Morley experiments proved it didn't suit them, so they made up a fixed speed. My goodness. Well, you've opened a can of worms, Mel, and basically you're right. But there's a big story associated with that. But funnily enough, in Rupert Sheldrake actually comments in his book, which I've got a copy of here somewhere, that they still regularly calculate the speed of light. There's a laboratory in West London where they actually have a machine for measuring the speed of light, and they do test it every so often. They keep getting different results, so the speed of light varies every so often. And but they don't actually publish the results. Sheldrake had to do special research to find that out. But yeah, I mean, the whole thing with Einstein and stuff is yeah, it's. I'm sure maybe Hugo Roon could say more about that. Susan Hayward, 9:38 a.m. Well, Susan, thank you for getting up so early, because you must have got up. You must have got up at 8 in the morning. So thank you very much. Neptune returns. Science is bollocks. Science is a religion. Well, it is. Science is not a bollocks, but there is something religious about the skeptic movement. Now, Neptune returns. If you watched my skeptic video that I did in January, check that out if you haven't already. Diego Rivera says, in 1 million years, another star will come within a light year of the sun. This has happened many times in history. Oh, well, it's a shame we've got to wait 1 million years. You know what excites me, Diego Rivera? The Betelgeuse star might go supernova in our lifetimes. It's possible. It's going to go supernova at some point in the next 60,000 years, which is like, it's basically poised, ready. In cosmic terms, 60,000 years it's about to happen. But it could happen in our lifetimes. That'd be great, because it will be so bright. It'll be the second brightest object in the sky for just about a month or two. It'll outshine the full moon. It's going to be amazing if that happens. That'd be amazing. Hugo Roon, science has been hijacked. True, Hugo, that's right. David Schultz, The Thing from Another World, 1953. Is that a movie? Tina Silver, anyone remember Beadle's About, where the UFO lands on a lady's front lawn and she offers it a cuppa? I don't. Is that on YouTube? So I'd be interested to see that, because it might have some kind of. Funny enough, they were doing fake Roswell at schools. I remember a large number of people reported to me that their children had been to school and there'd been like a fake UFO crash retrieval. I actually mentioned it on a Panama Voice. Diego Rivera, I only ask intelligent questions. You don't only ask intelligent questions, Diego. You sometimes do. Other times you just repeat questions about the British Bigfoot. Lyara. Oh, right. Lyara, yes. Oh, yeah. Okay. It's Annette. I know Annette. Yeah. Lyara's told us who she is. She's actually the illustrator of my book. So, yes, of course you'll get a book. You'll get a signed copy of the book. Absolutely. You've done an absolutely brilliant job. There's some beautiful images on the covers of all of the last 3 of my books, which Annette has done. No, Diego Rivera says, check out my channel. Yeah, I have looked at check Diego's channel. All right, where we are. Okay. They are Steve Bubba. I am not going to an alien party then. Oh, Tina's just. Thanks. Thanks, Tina. Videos from the underground. Some people think UFOs are back engineered enough from here. I think they're extraterrestrial too. I think they're both videos from the underground. They're both. I mean, some of what we think are extraterrestrial, I think, could actually be back-engineered man-made aircraft, or man-made aircraft of an esoteric type, like the ones the Nazis were making, like the Bell and things like that. I suspect the Kecksburg incident might actually have been one of these man-made craft or person-made craft. Oh God, you see, I'm pulling myself up on it now. Person-made craft, in just, you know, non-specific sexual or gender-made persons craft. I don't know. I've started falling for it myself. You can't resist it. Hi, Simon Templar. I'm very well, thank you. Diego Rivera says, I've got to go back. I hope neither of us are suffering anal boring. Not to my knowledge, Diego Rivera. I certainly hope so too. In case the cow's brains come out of the cow's arse. No, the brain is left untouched in these particular events. The parts of the body removed tend to be genitalia, rectum, parts of the jaw, the eye. Sometimes the blood is drained. It's a very, very strange case, very disturbing indeed. Yeah, Tina Silver says Hitler was Newsweek's Man of the Year. That's true, yeah. Iron Man Spartan 2 says Hitler was a real threat to the system, whereas Tommy Robinson is a government plant control opposition. If Robinson was a threat, he would have been shut down. Yeah, Tommy Robinson. Well, I've talked about him before. I don't think he's a knowing disinformation agent. I think he's being used. I think he's got this very, very warped idea of what is going on in the world, about the world situation. I think he's right about certain things, but he doesn't understand that we're not being conquered by Muslims. We're being conquered by a completely different group of people who, in a sense, are using Muslims. They're exploiting Muslims. Muslims are as much a victim of this as everyone else. Was George H.W. Bush executed, said Neptune Returns? I'd probably not, actually, because he was too evil. Only good people get executed. Valley says, do you like fish sticks? Do you fish fingers? Yes. Greetings from Germany. Hello, Val Lee from Germany. Yeah. I'm tempted to give you a line from Faulty Towers, but I won't. More dragon juice. Glowtone says, funny you mention Area 51 becoming a tourist attraction these days. There are many people who venture out to the borders and film the camo dudes. That's right, yes. If I ever get there, I want to go there myself. If I ever went to that part of the world, say I went to Laughlin where they do the UFO Congress, I would take a trip to Area 51. I would go down Groom Lake Road. David Vincent, happy Christmas, David. Here comes the supernova. What a pushover. I love it. It'd be great, Tina. The problem is that at the end of it, it would fade to nothing. It would become I think they call it a black dwarf. And you wouldn't be able to see it anymore. So that star would be gone. Valley says Hitler was a son of a dookie. Funny enough, there's evidence to suggest that Adolf Hitler was the grandson of Eugene Rothschild. And this is because his grandmother, who was called Elsa Schickelgruber, was a servant in the household of Eugene Rothschild in Vienna, and she had an affair with Eugene Rothschild and became pregnant. Now she was married to a chap called Jacob Hitler, and the baby was named Alois Hitler. However, there's a lot of evidence to suggest that the father of that child was actually Eugene Lord Rothschild. And Alois Hitler was the father of Adolf Hitler, which means that Hitler was a Rothschild, which could explain how he got into power. Interestingly, it would also make him Jewish because his mother would therefore be Jewish. His father would have. No, it wouldn't actually, because it's a maternal line that's Jewish, but it would mean he would have Jewish ancestry, which would be very interesting. I'll go back. Glowtone, the Beatles about UFO clip is on YouTube. Yeah, and Tina's just PM'd me one actually. I'll watch it when I finish the live stream. So thanks. Yeah, and then Glowtone's provided a link. Thank you, Glowtone. And Neptune Returns has sent it me by email. Have you? Oh, thank you. Yes, you have. Thank you. Thanks, Neptune. Oh, sorry if my voice is going a bit. I'm going to listen to your interview, says Lyra, with Mary now. Have a great Christmas, Ben. Speak soon. You too, and Annette, thank you very much. And I'll be in touch with you privately because obviously the book is literally, I literally, before I came on the air, literally quarter of an hour before I came on the air, I approved the proofs that have been sent from the printers, which means the book will go live within a couple of days. When it does, I'll post a note. When the book goes live, I'll post a notice everywhere. I'll put it up on a Panmo. And basically, that will be the publishing moment of the book. That will be the launch. This will literally be the launch day of the book. So, if anyone of you have radio shows and you know anyone with a radio show or TV show and do you want to interview me about the book, that'd be great. I know Miles is going to on the Basis Project. So, if anyone else wants to, I'd love to talk about my book. Obviously, because people then go out and buy it. Nigel Farage, 20 years a broker in the City of London. That's right. His background is in finance. That's true. That's very true. Nigel Farage has just quit UKIP. There's been the UKIP's in disarray. I mean, this has happened several times before within the party. But UKIP has very often broken down into factions and infighting, and it's happened again at the very moment where you'd think they would be, where UKIP would be absolutely onto this like a bloodhound. What's going on in Parliament right now with Theresa May and everything. You would think they'd be onto it like a bloodhound. Instead, all they can do is fight amongst themselves. It's Nigel Farage, it's Jared Batten fighting each other. It's these different people supporting different groups of people. It's ridiculous and pathetic. And while several people, listen to Panel Radio tomorrow evening, because tomorrow evening, 8 p.m, I have a guest called Caroline Stevens, and you'll know her because you'll know her from the Basis Project, and she does this other thing called the Stepping Stones to Awareness. She's a former UKIP member, and she has an awful lot to say about the real role of UKIP and what they possibly their real purpose is. And I didn't take it as seriously before as I do now, but judging by their current behaviour, at a time when you'd think really the purpose of that whole party is to act as the opposition to what's going on at the moment in government. The whole purpose of UKIP, what it was set up for, is to fight back and to be in opposition to this. And what's it doing? It's doing nothing, except they're just there's power struggles within the party between two different factions over policy, internal policy. That could mean that it's simply set up as a controlled opposition. And please do listen to her Panmo Radio tomorrow evening if you're interested in that. Funded by the City of London, says, yes, UKIP funded by the City of London, says Diego. Good night, says Valley. Good night, Valley. Iron Spartan 2 says, fish fingers and ketchup sandwich. Lovely. You're obviously English, aren't you? Iron Spartan. I love fish fingers and ketchup, but not in a sandwich. Not in a sandwich. Diego Rivera, Dulwich private schoolboy, father works in the City of London. Is this Sir Nigel Farage? Yeah. Tina Silver, would you be allowed to call it a black dwarf? Oh my God, I've done it again. The Betelgeuse supernova will turn into a black dwarf. It's actually an astronomical term, black dwarf. Oh my God, yeah. And it went, oh my God, it didn't go through my cultural Marxist filter, and I said it. I've done it again. My goodness me. I'm definitely moving on to BitChute. I've had it now. Oh, yeah. Maybe astronomers will give it a different name. They'll call it an ethnically challenged dwarf or something like that. I don't know. Ironman Spartan. Ben, what meat are you having this year? I'm having beef and Yorkshires. Well, I haven't had anything today with meat. Oh, during Christmas, I think we're having turkey. I'm not sure. It's actually, I'm going to my dad's house and he's cooking. Tina Silver, black and dwarf are not peace. I know. Oh my God, even dwarf. I shouldn't say dwarf, should I? This gets even worse. I think the remains of Betelgeuse are having to be called an ethnically and vertically challenged star or former star. Oh God, it's ridiculous, isn't it? Damn this Orwellian newspeak. German Age. Hello from Germany. Another German. Hello. Jack Taggart says, you're trash. So are you, Jack. Hugo Roon, yes, Hitler was a Jew. Well, that's Hitler, Hugo, that kind of makes sense. It does, yeah, it's very interesting, isn't it? Yeah. Mark Cocking, hey, Mark, hello. Thanks for joining us, Mark. Ironman Spartan says, most Jewish people are hardworking and decent. It's the elite ones who misrepresent them. Yeah, well, I mean, I've done an entire video called Jews, where I actually explain that Jews are innocent of any involvement in the New World Order. The elite, the actual elite, are nothing to do with Jews. Even the elite Jews are not Jews. So the whole Jew thing is just a distraction, I think, and it's a way of demonizing people. For example, it's very actually hard if you talk about any kind of conspiracy theory now. It's very, very hard to avoid a charge of anti-Semitism. Look at David Icke, and I've had this too. I had a certain individual, a certain nasty little person who was actually on my show a couple of years ago and who I liked. And he's actually a skeptic, and I actually was on his radio show once, and he used to do a radio show too. And what the hell? It was Tristan. It's Tristan Swale. Everyone knows who it is. Tristan Swale published material saying that I was anti-Semitic and I hated Jews. And I mean, this is the sort of thing that could get me into serious trouble. So I've had to threaten him with legal action. I haven't. Tristan has completely disappeared. He's gone off the scene. So he's trying to trash my reputation and smear my character. Then he disappears completely. And I don't know why, because we were getting on absolutely perfectly. I know he's a skeptic, and he ran a skeptic radio show, but I didn't have a problem with him. We got on very well. Ironman Spartan, yeah, where we are. Tina Silver says, now is the time for all good men to come to the aid of the party. Well, yeah, it's certainly the time for all good men and women indeed to fight back against this in any way they can. But I'm sure the rank and file members of UKIP, who I think are mostly genuine people, must be totally frustrated by what's going on with the leadership right now. They really need to put aside this whole issue, this policy issue they have, and just deal with the whole problem in Parliament right now. I'll be saying a lot more about that, I think, in a future video. And indeed, this is something I cover on the Hapanwa show tomorrow. The interview I did with Caroline actually is somewhat dated, actually. I did it a few weeks ago before my hiatus. And I've already said to Caroline, I said, yeah, Caroline, we're going to have to do a part 2 here because events have moved on since we did that interview. So I'm going to have to do that. UKIP is a kip for you. Yeah, videos is from the underground. UKIP has been infighting for a lot. Yes, totally. It's bloody annoying. It's, oh, God. They've had lots of leadership battles over the years and all kinds of things like that, factions breaking out. Richard Kinzer. Hi, Richard Kinzer. Yaxley Lennon was put in to finish off the grassroots support for UKIP. Hardcore football hooligans will replace them, ready for the forthcoming civil unrest. I think Yaxley Lennon, that's the real name of Tommy Robinson, I think. It's Stephen Yaxley Lennon. Tommy Robinson is like a nom de guerre. Yeah, but I mean, he is. I mean, if you listen to what he says, the sort of things he talks about Tommy Robinson, and I mean, I do think I don't think he means any harm, and I think it was wrong for them to put him in jail. But he's giving out completely false information, and he's misleading people. Totally. I don't believe he's a racist. I don't believe he's evil, but I think he is very misguided indeed. And you mentioned forthcoming civil unrest. Yes, that is on the cards. That is being planned. And the only hope we have of avoiding that is exposing that agenda to create it. And Tommy Robinson is actually only making things worse. He's stirring up antagonism and things like that, which is making things worse. Susan Hayward Tompkins says, all dwarves should carry war hammers. Yeah. That's like from Lord of the Rings, yeah. Tina Silver, everyone should watch a vid by Jack Otto on YouTube. He's killed for doing this lecture. All right, what's that? Ironman Spartans, evolution or creator? Neither. I mean, I think I'm interested in the intelligent design theory, but I think evolution, it does explain most of life on Earth, and there's no doubt that it is true. But the intelligent design thing is very interesting, and I think the way Richard Dawkins has dismissed it has simply made me more and more interested. Because Richard Dawkins is incredibly angry over intelligent design, even more so than the EU. He goes berserk whenever you mention intelligent design. And anything Richard Dawkins gets angry about, I think we should look at. Johnny Webb, maybe a shield troll. Tommy Robinson, do you mean? Now, Tommy Robinson, I think, is a well-meaning man. Tommy Robinson, I think, has been radicalized by some very, very real problems that emerged in society related to the radicalization of Muslims, the abuse of children, the terrorism, and things like this. And but what he doesn't understand is that this radicalization program has got nothing. It's something that has been instituted by the government. In a sense, they're paying for Saudi hate preachers to come into the mosques. These guys aren't just walking in; they're being aided and abetted by the government. So, in a sense, this is something that's been created. They're using these Muslims, these young Muslims, to create this kind of issue in society. And there's this has to be exposed. Otherwise, we're just going to end up with some kind of civil war, which is what they want. The marshals want to enforce their laws, says Tina. The marshals. Who's that? Baz Ahmedzai. Hello, Baz Ahmedzai. Hi, Ben. I admire your fighting spirit and good luck with your book. Thank you, Baz. Thanks very much. Hope you enjoy the book. James Lampkin says, what about intelligent intervention? Ah, you mean the ancient aliens and things like that? Yes, I'm very interested in that, indeed. I'm going to have to end soon, I think. It's 11 and my nose is blocking up. Richard Kinzit. Why the Old Bailey for his contempt showcase? And he is so important that the case had to be put forward to the Attorney General. Well, yes, that is a good question, Richard. Indeed, I asked the same question about Helen Duncan. If you remember my videos I've made about Helen Duncan. Richard Kinzit, MI5 acid. He may well be, Richard. He doesn't know it, I'm sure. He has no idea, but I think he is some way being used by the intelligence services. T-break back now. Oh, hi Diego Vera. I'm going to have to end in a minute, Diego, but Neptune returns. Tina Silva. Anyone just has to read chapter 9 of the Quran to comprehend what the plan is for non-Muslims. Infidels must convert or die. That's true, Tina. The Quran is a really very chauvinistic document, and it does say quite openly that Islam has to be for everyone. The thing about it is that Muslims don't have to believe this. They don't have to go along with this. It's interesting that there are plenty of Muslims who actually describe themselves as Muslims, but live their lives in accordance with and in compliance with secular ethical behavior within the countries they live in, including Britain. I live with 2 young Muslim guys, and they're great guys. They're from the Sudan, and they're great guys. And it seems it's the problem is you have this counter-integration problem now, which is part of this radicalization agenda, which Tommy Robinson has rightly pointed out. He's just he's just mistaken about the cause, in which, in a sense, what these hate preachers are doing is they're breeding radicalization. They're saying, no, you have to put aside this plan to cooperate with the country you're living in, and you have to believe every single word of the Quran and live your life according to it. Whereas previously Muslims were willing to compromise the certain elements of their actual essential faith. Now fewer and fewer of them are, especially the younger generation. And that's the problem. That is not something inherent to Islam itself. That's something that is being engineered by psychological warfare experts within the government. Ironman Spartan says the end game is martial law in the UK at checkpoints and electronic chips. Yes. In fact, the aim is to create a new and more authoritarian version of the European Union. Once that is in place, then they can then merge into the world government. That's literally what they're doing. And then everything else will follow from there. Depopulation, transhumanism, all the rest. That's what has to be exposed. That's what I've been doing. That's what I've been trying. This is what I've dedicated my life to. Just trying to stop this from happening and for us to create a better world instead. David Schultz, did you see Annihilation 2018? No, I saw it was advertised. Funny enough, it was advertised on Netflix at the very same time as there was another thing about alien invasion in the same week that they released The Handmaid's Tale. The Handmaid's Tale is like this dystopian future vision, which is quite Orwellian, to do with a fundamentalist religious state and things like that. So I thought it was odd that these 3 things came out on Netflix the same week. Diego Vera, Ben, these environmental groups have been infiltrated by the police. Yes. Hi, Roger Salzgaber. Welcome. Great movie. Yeah, I've heard a lot of good things about it. I don't have Netflix, but I can probably get it on Amazon Prime. I have that. Diego Rivera said, It's good night from me and good night from Bigfoot. Night, Diego. I'm going to end the stream soon. Neptune terms. Islam was invented by the Catholic Church. You've actually come up with something that I've actually seen lately. The evidence to suggest that the Vatican wrote the Holy Quran, because from what we know about the background of the Prophet Muhammad, he basically he would have been the kind of guy who couldn't even probably read or write. So even if he did have this vision from the Archangel Gabriel, he wouldn't have been able to put it down on paper, and he certainly wouldn't have had the resources to muster a massive army that within his lifetime had conquered half the known world. No, it was. I think it was the creation of the Vatican. Diego Rivera says, Islam is Welsh. They have lots of lambs. Neptune says, you got the looping as well. I'm sorry about that. I don't know why that is. Diego Rivera, Max Headroom Man. Oh, that was an old thing they used to have in the 80s. I remember that, yeah. Johnny Webb, your thoughts on the Bob Lazar video? Johnny, watch the recording of this live stream because it's all on there. Tina Silva says, get Netflix for a free month over Christmas. Well, that's tempting, Tina. But the thing is, can you actually cancel after that, or you have to go through 6 different call centers or something to actually cancel? I don't know. Ironman Spartan says, thank you for the stream. Talk next time. Thank you, Iron Man. Guys, I'm going to knock it on the head now. Oh, thanks, Tina. Cancel anytime. Oh, I'll think about it. The thing about it is, Tina, I actually don't watch telly very much. There is a television in my home, which Ahmed and Hossan just watch most of the time, and I don't really watch it much. I watched it on Vimeo, Charlie. Yeah, you watched it too. It's excellent. Yeah. Good night, Richard. Good night. I'm going to have to end now. So night, everyone. Night. Bye, Benny. Bye, Neptune Returns. Thanks for watching, Neptune and Richard Kenzet. Thanks, Earth Dog. God bless you. Night, Tina. Thanks for watching. Night, Charlie. Thanks for joining. And Johnny too. Johnny, I hope you watch the recording of this because I go into everything in detail. So really appreciate you guys joining, all 45 of you. So I think this is one of my most popular live streams. Thank you very much, all of you. Tina, thank you. And see you, Tiberius Kirk. And thank you very much, all of you. My voice is going out now. You can tell because of my cold. See you, Susan. Thank you very much. Have a good day, Susan. It's morning where you are. Have a nice day and enjoy the books. Thanks, Charlie. Take care, guys. The new book's going to be £10, the same as the others. And so, all of you, hope you're all well, and I hope to see you again. See you, David. And there'll be another live stream soon. I'm planning to do a live stream about my new book, and also one about the Brexit situation, probably before Christmas. Take it easy. Thanks. I'll take Neptune. I've got to go to work, but it's not going to be a very, very busy day, so I'll probably be okay. And my cold is getting better now. It's just the talking does it. As you heard from the Kev Baker show, it's like it all happens at the same time, all over everywhere. Everyone gets it at the same time. It's like the virus comes down from space. Okay, guys. Thank you very much. This is Panmo TV signing off. Take care, Jack. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.